Right. So just reviewing, we have done 3 sessions of relative motion. We have discussed all the problems related to relative motion between rain and a moving person, and also relative motion between a swimmer and a boat and moving water. Now, just few more variations are remaining, and we'll be able to complete this. So perhaps today we will also start with the concepts of the next chapter. Let's see, depending on how much time the questions take.
Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, people. Good afternoon, everyone. Mostly we will look at applications and examples. So one thing we had discussed as an interesting application towards the end of the last lecture was relative motion between two projectiles, and the fact that if we have two objects which are in projectile motion or two objects which are moving under the action of gravity, then their relative acceleration is zero. So their relative motion is with uniform velocity. So let's start with an example based on that concept. So relative motion of two objects moving under the action of gravity. So their relative acceleration is zero. So any two such bodies, their relative motion is with uniform velocity for that reason. This is one of the things that we discussed in the last session. Yes, we will do some more questions and applications, Ishan, and then we will move on to circular motion after that. So just few pending application examples of relative motion. No concepts in that sense are pending anymore. So let's look at this. So now this person projects a ball horizontally at a speed of 10 meters per second at time t equal to 0. And at the same point of time, another person over here, he projects another ball at an angle theta like this. So this guy projects the ball with a speed of 30√2 meters per second, or approximately 30 into 1.4 that will be, and at an angle of 45 degrees with respect to the horizontal at t equal to 0. So A and B simultaneously project this. Okay. Now this vertical distance is h and this horizontal distance is small d. Now it is given to us in the problem that what is observed thereafter is that these two collide. Suppose this will go in a projectile kind of path like this. So this is going in its own projectile path, and this is also in its own projectile path. But they collide at t equal to a certain amount of time. So two objects A and B are projected simultaneously as shown in the diagram here. Okay. Now, given that H is equal to 30 meters, find D, that is this horizontal distance, and the time T1 when they collide. So using the information that is given in the question, that is the projection of, this is a horizontal projection, A is projected horizontally at 10 meters per second, and B is projected obliquely at an angle of 45 degrees with a speed of 30 root 2 meters per second. So additionally, the question tells us that these, okay, they collide at time t equal to t1. And additionally, it is given that this height difference between the points of projections is h. Then what should be the value of the horizontal distance between, or the horizontal component of displacement between the 2 points of projection for A and B? So what should be the value of D, and what is the time t1 in seconds if it is given to us that they collide? So that is the question over there.
Sir, the D is the range, right?
D is the
Sir, range.
range in the sense that you can say it is the sum of the horizontal displacements of A and B when they collide.
Yes, sir.
So whatever horizontal displacement A is having towards the right, and whatever horizontal displacement B is having towards the left, between that time 0 and t1, their sum should be equal to t. So yes, that would be one way of solving the question. But what I would advise you to try this question with is relative motion concept. Okay, like we did the question in the last lecture. The only difference was that there the object, one of the objects was in free fall, and the other object was thrown towards it. Here, instead of the first object being in free fall, A is also thrown, but is thrown horizontally, and B is thrown obliquely. So again, let's take it as a hint to solve this problem, that we have to solve the motion of, let's say, B relative to A. Okay.
Connected to a chain. Connected
A
a chain.
relative to B, whatever be the case. Okay. For this question, because it will be relative motion with uniform velocity, because the relative acceleration is 0.
No.
So because this happens, this is relatively easier to solve by using relative motion. Very good. I have received the correct answer from Manav.
Sir, can you scroll up?
Okay, so I'm coming back to the question now. So what we should do here is we should first of all look at what the relative velocity is initially, because that only will be the uniform relative velocity. So if the object A is having a velocity like this, and the object B is having a velocity like this, and we take, in general, we take our XY system like this, then with respect to our ground frame, we can say the initial velocity of A is 10 I cap, and the initial velocity of B is with a minus sign, okay, and sine theta component with the positive sign. So this you will see will give us the initial velocity of B as minus 30 I cap plus 30 J cap. So this is the initial velocity at t equal to 0. Now once they are set into motion, they are under the action of gravity. On both of them, the net force acting is gravitational force. So both of them are having only gravity acting at any time t. So the acceleration of A in the ground frame is equal to the acceleration of B, which is minus g j cap. So the relative acceleration of B with respect to A is 0. So that means the relative velocity of B with respect to A is a uniform velocity. It's a constant velocity, which will be equal to the initial velocity only because there is no acceleration. So now from this above data, you can see what is this initial relative velocity. It is UB minus UA. So that velocity of B with respect to A is a uniform velocity of minus 40 I cap plus 40 J cap. So when we are looking at them from the ground frame point of view, you can see that they are, let's say, colliding somewhere here at t equal to t1. A and B both reach here. But if we look at the motion of B with respect to A, now that becomes, okay, in A's frame, what is happening is that let me just draw this a little better. So in A's frame, this is the situation at t equal to 0. If you are sitting on that object A, you would have seen at t equal to 0, B is projected towards you at a velocity of BBA, if you just calculate it. Okay, now if it's coming and hitting you at time t1, then in your frame what has happened is that the cliff and the ground have moved. And B has moved with respect to you directly like this and come and hit you at t equal to t1. So this velocity vector of B should be along this line. Now if you compare this with this diagram, you'll understand. So you are stuck to the frame of A. So in A's frame, B moves directly to hit it with a velocity so now this distance was h and this distance was d. So this velocity of B relative to A into t1, this should be the displacement of B with respect to A in that time. And that displacement you can see from here is minus d I cap plus h j cap. So this velocity of minus 40 I cap plus 40 j cap into whatever time t1 is equal to this. So from this you can see that 40 t1 is equal to d and 40 t1 again is equal to h. Now h is equal to 40 meters, so t1 is coming out to be 1 second, and then put that back over here. So d is coming out to be 40 meters. Okay. So here d was unknown, here t1 was unknown, so we calculated t1. So basically it becomes a one-line solution. The idea here is that the velocity of B with respect to A, which is the difference of the initial velocities, which we calculated like this, minus 40 I cap plus 40 j cap. Okay. This is a uniform velocity. Okay. So therefore, if B hits A, then this velocity, this relative velocity, should be along the line B, that is ideal, that you can see in the vector diagram.
Sir, can you just scroll up for once?
Oh, just a minute. I think I have. Wait a minute. There is a correction to be made here. This is 30. Okay, people. This component is 30. Okay. But in the original question, you will see that h's value was also 30. H is 30 meters. Okay, so both those things have to be corrected. So h's value over here is given to us as 30 meters. Okay. Now here h is 30 meters. So this tells me that time t1 is this. Okay. So this so the relative velocity has a y component of 30 and an x component of minus 40. Okay. All right. So I'll just scroll up now so you can.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, how is displacement of B with respect to A minus DI plus H J cap, sir?
Sorry, come again. How is the displacement?
Sir, of B with respect to A, sir, minus DI cap plus H J cap.
How it is this? Because see, in A's frame, what is happening? B was initially here. No? This is where B was at t equal to 0. And now at some time t1 or whatever, B is coming and hitting it. So B is over here at time t1. So this vector is the displacement, no? From here to here. So this vector has an x component along the negative x side of D and a y component on the positive side, because we have taken x and y axis like this. No? Is it clear now, Vital?
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
तो A के रिस्पेक्ट में B का जो डिस्प्लेसमेंट है ना, तो it is going from this position initially t equal to 0 to this. So that displacement vector has a component towards the left of D and a component upwards of H. So that is how the x component is minus D, which becomes this, and the y component is plus H. So that's what. Okay.
Sir, can you repeat how it is minus?
Because see the direction of this displacement vector, no, but this arrow, it's
Yes, sir, it
x
is opposite. Yes.
it's like this. No? So with respect to our coordinate frame like this one, if something makes a displacement like this, then its x component is negative now, and its y component is positive now. Okay, so hope this question is fully clear, people.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Now we will move on to one last type of concept related to relative motion, but a slightly different calculation. Okay, and that calculation is of a quantity called the relative velocity of approach or separation between two particles. So the idea is that if two objects are moving in such a way that, so for example, we have two objects like this, which are moving like this. Randomly, they've got some velocities which are like this. This is how they are at t equal to 0. So the distance between them is some s. And then take another example where let's say two objects, instead of moving like this, they're moving like this. Let's say they are moving maybe like this. This is how they are located at t equal to 0. Okay. Now in the first case, what will happen is that if you see the two objects after a very short time at t equal to delta t, A would be somewhere here and B would be, let's say, somewhere over here. So the distance between them is decreased. It becomes some s minus delta s. So in this example, what is happening is that A and B are coming closer. That is, the distance s between them is decreasing. So when that happens, we say that they have something called an approach velocity. Okay. So then we say that minus ds by dt, that is the rate at which the distance is decreasing, that becomes the approach velocity. So A and B in this case have an approach velocity, okay, which equals to the rate at which the distance between them s is decreasing. On the other hand, if you look at my second example, there the velocities seem to be oriented in such a way that if you look at the same system after a very short duration of time, this is where they are at t equal to 0. Now you look at them after some very short time delta t, A would be somewhere here and B would be somewhere here. So it's quite easy to figure out from the diagram that the distance between them seems to have increased. So here A and B are moving apart. Okay, so they have something called a separation velocity. They have a separation velocity instead of an approach velocity, okay, which equals to the rate at which the distance between them s is increasing. Of course, there can also be a very unique case where they are moving in such a way that neither the rate is increasing nor the rate is decreasing. But that is like a special case. Generally speaking, if two objects are there, generally speaking, other than the special case where the distance between them remains fixed, they might be either coming closer to each other with time or they might be moving away from each other. So at the given instant, the rate at which the distance is decreasing between them in the first case, that is called the approach velocity. And if they are moving apart, then at the given instant, the rate at which the distance between them is increasing, that instantaneous rate is called the separation velocity. So this is the definition of approach and separation velocity. Write this down. Next, we will see how we define the Okay, so this becomes plus of ds by dt. The approach. So this is the definition. Now next we will see that if we know the individual velocities of A and B, how we can calculate the approach and separation velocity. Okay, so now let us see this in application, and let's understand this with a series of examples. Okay. Now we'll start with a series of examples involving a comparatively simple situation where you have two objects which are currently at a distance s, like this shown over here, A and B. At t equal to 0, they are located like this. Okay. Because this is a series of examples, so we'll just show it like different cases. Okay. So now in this case, the first case, let's say what is happening is that the individual velocities of A and B are like this. So this has, let's say, a 5 meter per second velocity like this, and this has a 4 meter per second velocity Okay, so in this case, we can see that they are approaching each other firstly. You can see that minus ds by dt, because s is decreasing, or approach velocity will become how much? It will become 5 plus 4 or 9 meters per second. Okay. Now this is very easy to justify, because what is happening is, see, at t equal to 0, A and B are located like this. Okay. At a distance of s. Now at some time t equal to delta t, A would have shifted to some position like this, and B would have shifted to some position like this. So the distance between them would have decreased by how much? It would have decreased by 5 delta t and 4 delta t from this side. So you can see that the rate of change of distance with respect to time is minus of 5 plus 4. So that means they are having an approach velocity of 9 meters per second in this case. Because if at t equal to 0, the distance between them was s, then at the new time, the distance between them is decreased by this much now. Now, likewise, suppose in our second example, A is moving in this direction, but now B is moving in the same direction. And suppose here, at this given instant, A is having an instantaneous velocity of 5 meters per second. B is having an instantaneous velocity of 3 meters per second. So are they separating or are they approaching? And how much is the separation or approach velocity? Can you tell me in the second example what is happening? Yes, anyone?
Ray is approaching me.
Yes, A is approaching B, and what is the approach velocity in this case now?
2 meter per second.
Yes, very good. No, the approach velocity here, because the distance between them you can see is decreasing, but it's decreasing in such a way that A's velocity is trying to make it decrease, but B's velocity is trying to make it increase. So the net approach velocity is 2 meters per second. Now, likewise, if we had a situation where something like this is happening now, where A and B are moving opposite to each other. This is moving at 3, let's say, and this is moving at 5. Now what is happening? They're definitely separating from each other. You can see S is increasing. So here they are having a plus ds by dt, or they are having a separation velocity, but that will be such that A's velocity is also away from B, B's velocity is also away from A. So their net separation velocity, the rate at which S is increasing, becomes 8 meters per second. So the first two cases, they are having approach velocities, the distance is decreasing. The third case, you can see they are having separation velocity. Okay. And let's also take another example like this one now. And let's say here A is moving towards B, and B is moving away from A. But A is moving this time at, let's say, 2 meters per second, and B is moving at a larger speed of 7 meters per second. So now in this case, again, you can see it's easy to understand whether they are separating or approaching.
Separating.
Sir, separating.
Yeah, so the last example, somebody was telling me before I got cut out, sorry, are they approaching or separating? The fourth example?
Sir, separating.
Separating
Yes, very good. They're separating. And what is the separation velocity?
5 meters per.
Yes, very good. It's 5 meters per second. Okay. So basically, in this case, you can see that all you have to do in the one-dimensional case, if they're moving along the same straight line, you have to calculate their relative velocity, and from the relative velocity, you can see that whether they are moving towards each other or they're moving away from each other. So you can see in the first example, B's relative velocity with respect to A is 9 meters per second directly towards A. So it has an approach velocity of 9. Or for that matter, A's relative velocity with respect to B is along the positive x direction and it's equal to 9. So from B's frame, it looks like A is directly coming towards it at 9 meters per second. Okay. Whereas, for example, in the fourth example, you can see the fourth case, you can see that if you're in A's frame, then B's relative velocity looks like 5 meters per second going away from B. So it's having a separation velocity of 5 meters per second. Okay. So this is the simple one-dimensional case. Now the thing becomes more interesting once we are outside one dimension and we take into account angles at which velocities are occurring. So let's again start with a somewhat simpler situation.
Sir, can you scroll up?
Yes, I'll scroll up. Just give me a moment. Okay. So now if we have
Yes.
this situation where at this given point of time, A is having a velocity in this direction, okay, but B is having a velocity at some kind of angle like this. So this angle is theta. This vector is V. So given that the magnitude of VA is 10 meters per second, the magnitude of VB is, let's say, 50 meters per second, and that angle theta is 37 degrees. You have to find the instantaneous, that is at that moment, approach velocity of A and B. It's always a pair of particles that have an approach velocity. So how much is that approach velocity? So just go through this question and try to see how we'll try to figure out how we'll take into consideration. Need to write down the part above. Okay, so I've received a couple of answers. I'm just checking it out. So this is where we have to understand, Manav and Adinath, that the concept of approach velocity is a little different to relative velocity. The answer that you've given is correct for relative velocity, but here we have to calculate the approach velocity. So approach velocity, specifically how it is different from relative velocity, Approach velocity is defined as what? The rate at which the distance between them is decreasing. Okay. So one way we can, for example, demonstrate this concept, how it will work in this question is that suppose I just arbitrarily take this as my x-axis and this as my y-axis. Okay. So at the given instant, the above diagram, I've just taken x and y axis such that at the given point of time, A is lying here at some coordinate, let's say x1, and B is lying over here at some coordinate x2. So I've just made sure that I've selected my x-axis such that both A and B are lying on the x-axis. Okay. Now at this same point of time, A's velocity is in this direction. And B's velocity is in this sort of direction. So BA and BB are in this sort of directions. Now, if I denote the distance between A and B as S, the instantaneous distance is S. So we can see that at this given instant of time, S is equal to how much? It is x2 minus x1. So that means the rate of change of S with respect to time is rate of change of x2 minus x1. So it is this one. This is the rate of change. Okay. How do I calculate this rate of change? So for that, I look at the vector denotation here. VA is just got an x component. It is 10 I cap. That means the rate at which A's x coordinate is changing is plus 10. This is the meaning of this, and its y coordinate is not changing. But VB has components like this. See, it has a negative component of, you can see here, VB is minus 50 cos 37 and plus 50 sin 37. So this is minus 40. This is plus 30 j. So this tells me something that the rate of change of x2 with respect to time is minus 40. And the rate of change of y2 with respect to time is plus 30. Okay. Because eventually as B moves, it will have some y coordinate also. So, but remember that as far as the approach velocity is concerned, I'm not actually interested in this rate of change. This is of no importance to me right now. Only these two are of importance. So I substitute these here and I understand that at that given instant, of course, a moment later, all this will change, because the angle would have changed, the position would have changed. But at that particular instant of time, what is the rate of change of the distance between them? It is the rate of change of this one's x coordinate minus the rate of change of this one's x coordinate. So this one's x coordinate is changing at the rate of minus 40. This one's x coordinate is changing at the rate of plus 10. So that means the distance between them is decreasing at the rate of 50 meters per second. So that means they are having an approach velocity at that particular moment of 50 meters per second. Okay. So now whatever I've shown by calculus and using coordinates and all that over here, we can simplify that and we can just understand it this way, that this is the line joining A and B. Okay. Now A directly has a velocity towards B of BA. So how much A contributes to the approach velocity? A contributes a factor of VA because its velocity is directed towards B like this directly. Whereas B is having a velocity in this direction at some angle theta. So B's velocity has to be broken into two components. One component which is perpendicular to the line, and that component does not affect that line because it's perpendicular. So it does not affect the distance between A and B just now. It will affect a moment later because that line will change. Okay. But at this instant, at this point of time, this VB sin theta is not having any effect on the distance between them. It is only this VB cos theta which is having an effect. So S is the distance between them. So you can see that minus ds by dt, the rate at which the distance is decreasing. So how much B's velocity is contributing towards that? It's contributing a component towards A of VB cos theta. So instead of, From this point onwards, we will just understand relative velocity in a situation like this by looking at this. A's velocity's components towards B is directly VA, but B's velocity's component towards A is VB cos theta. So the net approach velocity is becoming the sum of these two, and when you calculate that, you can see that it will come out to 50 meters per second. Okay, so this is the difference between the concept of relative velocity and the concept of approach or separation velocity. The relative velocity is just VB minus VA or VA minus VB, whichever one we are calculating. But approach or separation velocity is actually the rate at which the distance is increasing or decreasing. So it is accordingly. Okay, so let's just look at a couple of more examples of this. and then we will look at how we can apply this in a number of different kind of situations. And this approach and separation velocity concept actually becomes very useful, not only in solving kinematics type of problems, but even in solving things like constraint relations, which you have seen in Newton's laws of motion, etc. So now let's say we have a situation like this, that A and B, at the given instant of time, they are having velocities which are like this. Somewhat like the example we were talking about earlier. So A is having an instantaneous velocity with a magnitude of, let's say, 50 meters per second, where this angle is 37 degrees. And, oh sorry, this angle is 53 degrees. And B at that same instant is having a speed of, which is 75 meters per second, but at this angle of 37 degrees with this line. So find the instantaneous approach or separation velocity, whichever you feel is happening in each of these cases. So this is the first case I'm giving you. Now I'll give you a few more. So just work this out quickly and send me the answers. So in this now, A is located at the position 12, 0, and it's having a velocity. Yeah, I'll just check the answer. Just give me a moment. Of 5 meters per second like this. B is located at a position 0, 16 at this moment, and its velocity is in this direction along the y-axis like this. This is having a velocity of, again, 5, but j cap in meters per second. A is having a velocity of 5 I cap. In meters per second. So in each of these, you have to tell me that first of all, whether they are having separation or approach, and how much is that separation or approach velocity. Okay, Rushi, I'm going through your first answer. Yes, it's correct. Very good. Rushi, just check the calculation once. Huh? Maybe you made a mistake in cos and sine. I'll just remind you. Cos 53 is 3/5, not 4/5. Okay, so let's, yes, Adinath, your answer is correct. Rushi, I hope you have corrected the first part's answer.
Yes, sir.
Okay. Good. So in this case, you will see that they are actually having a separation velocity. The first case, they are having a separation velocity of VB cos 37, which is the component going away from A, minus VA cos 53, which is A's component coming towards B. So this will come out to be 75 into 4 by 5, so that's 60. And this will come out to be 50 into 3 by 5, so that's 30. So they'll have a separation velocity of 30 meters per second. The first case. This diagram. And now similarly in this diagram you can see the second one, A does not contribute to anything because A has a perpendicular velocity at that moment. Okay, of course, I'm emphasizing a moment later all this might change because the angle will change. But at this instant, VA does not have any component along the line AB. So it does not contribute anything. But B has a component directly towards A. So it contributes to an approach. So the two particles are coming closer with an approach velocity of B's component towards A. So that will become 10. So they're having an approach velocity of 10. Now this one, one has to work out the geometry a little bit. I've got one answer for this from Adinath, and yes, that seems to be correct. Okay. So let's just verify that. So what we have to understand here is that the line joining AB, this line, look at this right angle triangle. This side is 12, this side is 16. So this angle you can see is 53 degrees. Okay. Now you can see that A has a velocity like this of 5, but that has a component going away from B. Okay. And B has a velocity like this also of 5, but that has a component going away from A. Such that now you can see that this angle will be, let's say, alpha. So alpha is 37 degrees. Okay. So they'll have a separation velocity because now you can see that we just concentrate on A and B. This is the line joining them. So they have velocities which both of them have components going away from this. They have a separation velocity of VB cos alpha plus VA cos theta according to my diagram. They have a separation velocity of 8 meters per second. So a little bit tricky this was in terms of like the geometry of it.
Sir,
Yes.
sir, for A, sir, why will we take sine 53, sir? I did not understand that part.
Sorry, my mistake. It is cos 53. It's cos theta, no? I just made a mistake while. So yes, thanks. That's should be cos 53 and not sine 53. So yes, the answer will become 7 in fact. That's the same answer that you got.
No, sir. Sir, I made a mistake, sir.
Okay, but after correcting this, you've got the same thing, right?
Yes, sir, I got that.
So you might have made a mistake with plus minus, no? That's why you got 1 earlier.
Yes, sir. Sir, I took the opposite direction, so it came for -3.
Right. But now it's clear how it's working out.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
So now that we are clear with the concept of approach and separation velocity, let's look at some cases where we apply it. So as I was saying that a lot of the time actually we apply the concept of approach and separation velocity for constraint relation type of problems. Not even kinematics problems, but constraint relation. I mean, in that sense, it is to do with motion, so it is kinematics, but not like projectile motion or something like that, but rather with constraint relation problems. So application,
Excuse me, sir.
yes.
Sir, in the previous question, can you
Uh,
explain that how they are, matlab, how did you added them?
how did we add the term? Okay, let me explain. So see, now in this one, concentrate on the series of diagrams and especially the last one. Okay, so this last diagram is this one only, but I've just shown it in a separate diagram. So this is the line joining A and B, this one. Okay. Now you notice that A has a velocity which is in this sort of direction. No? Because
Yes,
a
sir.
component going away. So it contributes a separation, not an approach, because it's going directly away from B. So that is
Yes,
this
sir.
5 cos 53 term, right? And similarly, B's velocity, if you see, it has a component away from A. It's not a component towards, it's away from. So that's why they're both adding up.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay, so now moving on to an example of the application of this. So you'll see one very typical type of question, which can be sometimes a little troubling in constraint relation type of examples. Something like this. And we have a situation where a block A, let's say, is on a smooth horizontal surface and it's attached by a thread which is going around a pulley like this, and the other side of the thread is hanging vertically. So this is the same thread actually. It's going around the pulley, and now that is attached to B on this side. Okay. And this is of course a fixed ceiling. So as we can understand from the diagram that B's weight will tend to pull it down. So at some instant, it has some downward velocity Vb. and the thread will be pulling on A. So unless the force becomes so much that A jumps off, we can assume that till that point A is moving horizontally, and this angle theta will constantly be changing. So as A is coming more and more to this direction, you can see theta will keep increasing, but B will keep coming down vertically till it hits the floor. So now all we have to do in this question is that given at some instant of time, suppose theta is equal to 60 degrees and B's velocity at that moment is, let's say, 1.2 centimeters per second. So find A's velocity at this instant, at the same instant of time, when VB is so much and theta is so much, how much will be A's velocity? Okay, so I'm sure you would have seen questions like this in Newton's law exercises with constraint relation and all that. Now, what we'll do is, instead of using calculus and differentiation and all that, we will use a different approach of relative approach and separation velocity. Okay, so what here we will use is, we'll use the constraint, the same constraint that we used earlier also, that the thread length is conserved, is constant. But we will apply this constraint by using approach and separation velocity concept. To just take down the question, I'll explain in a moment how it is. So this is one of the very useful applications of this concept of approach and separation velocity. Okay, so now let's see how we can develop that constraint relation by applying conservation of thread length. But the method of application we'll use is the approach and separation velocity concept rather than differentiation and all that. Chain rule differentiation, all that we don't need to apply. So what we'll say is that in this diagram, this point, now I'm labeling it as the point E. Okay. And this point has a velocity in this direction of VA. Okay. And this point on the pulley where the thread is just, in contact with it, let's label it as point P. And similarly, let's label this point as Q and this point as B. And this point is having a downward velocity VB. Now, this part of the thread length from A to P, let's label that as Z. And this part of the thread length from Q to B, let's label that as Y, let's say. So Z plus Y should be constant because the thread length is conserved. Because thread length is remaining conserved. So even though Z is decreasing with time and Y is increasing with time, but the sum of Z plus Y should remain constant. Okay. Now in the diagram, you can see that Z is basically the distance AP. So minus dz by dt is the approach velocity of A and B, which in the diagram you can see is how much it is BA cos theta. And similarly, you can see Y is the distance QB. So plus dy by dt, because y is increasing with time, is the separation velocity between these 2 points, between points B and Q. That is equal to how much now? It is Vb. So I've got 2 constraint relations now from this. So using this fact that z plus y is constant, I can see that since z plus y is a constant, the rate of change of z plus y, dz by dt plus dy by dt equal to 0. So dz by dt is minus of, so from here you can see dz by dt, z is decreasing at the rate of Va cos theta, and y is increasing at the rate of, so minus Va cos theta plus Vb should be 0. This should be the relation between them, that Va is equal to Vb sec theta at any instant. So if Vb is equal to 1.2 centimeters per second and theta is equal to 60 degrees at some instant, then you can see that Va will become 2.4. This constraint relation. So this is one example of how constraint relation is used. Okay, people, so hope this example is clear. Now we'll just take a few more minutes to complete one more example with which we can wind up this section, and with this we can wind up kinematics. So now this is a different type of example, not a constraint relation example. This is a very specific kind of example where the concept of approach and separation velocity is going to be used. So we have this situation where we have 3 particles which are located initially at the vertices of an equilateral triangle, and they simultaneously start moving at t equal to 0 such that they are chasing each other. That is, one particle is moving towards the other always. This is the situation at t equal to 0. Now, A, B, and C simultaneously start moving at t equal to 0 such that their speeds are constant. Okay, and A's velocity points towards B. B's velocity always points towards C, and C's velocity always points towards A at any instant. So find the time after which they will collide. Just take down the question. We'll discuss the situation first and then we'll understand how to apply the concept. Okay, so just to illustrate here, what is happening is that at any instant of time, so at t equal to 0, this is the situation. They are located like this. Now, at this moment, what will happen? A's velocity vector is like this, directed towards B. B's velocity vector is like this, directed towards C. And C's velocity vector is like this, pointing towards A. And all three have the same magnitude V naught. Okay. So what will happen is, after a bit of time, after a short time delta t, let's say A has reached somewhere here now, B has reached somewhere here now, and C has now reached somewhere here. So they are forming a new equilateral triangle, which is slightly smaller in dimension, like this now. So accordingly, the direction of the velocities will also change. Now B's velocity is in this direction, C's velocity is in this direction, and A's velocity is switched to this direction because they're always chasing each other. So after some time now, B has reached here, now C has reached here. Okay, so now the triangle formed by the three of them becomes even smaller. So this process goes on like this. So over time, they move along paths which are curved like this. But eventually they all crash at the centroid. Yes, very good. In center, centroid, or circumcenter, whatever you call it. Let's say G. So equilateral triangle has the common value of centroid, in center, orthocenter, centroid. Yeah, all these things. Okay. So at any random instant of time, for example, you will see that they would be like this. And like this, the triangle will always go on diminishing. But the interesting thing about this triangle is that always the relationship between their individual velocities, how they are linked to each other, that is always constant. So you can see that at any point of time, t equal to t, if you look at any two of the particles, any pair of particles, either A and B or B and C, they will have a relationship like this, that they have an approach velocity which is constant. Okay. So approach velocity of A towards B or B towards C or C towards A is all constant. It's a uniform approach velocity. Yes, very good. That's correct. So this is a typical type of example where we have to use the concept of approach velocity. So this is a uniform approach velocity. So let us say, so if they collide at some time t equal to capital T, so the distance between them, distance between any pair x, so moment, I'll reshare this. Distance x between A and B or B and C or C and A, whichever. Okay. This x has changed from x equal to L at t equal to 0 to x equal to 0 at t equal to capital T at a constant approach velocity of 3 by 2 v naught. So therefore, 3 by 2 v naught should be equal to L by T. Now the time taken should be equal to 2L by 3 v naught. Okay, people, so this is a very specific type of application of the concept of relative approach velocity. Okay, and this is the only method in this case of solving a situation like this, because if you try to solve the motion such that you are trying to understand the trajectory of the individual particles with respect to ground frame, it's far too complex, because the velocity is always turning in such a way that one is chasing the other. But if you keep looking at the particles with respect to each other, relative to each other, then one interesting aspect is that while the particles are turning around and the velocity is always turning, but the approach velocity between any pair of particles, that is remaining constant. So the rate at which the different particles pairs are coming closer and closer to each other, that is a uniform value of 2 by 3 v naught, or sorry, 3 by 2 v naught. Okay, so they cover that distance of L in that much time, L divided by 3 by 2 v naught. Okay, so people, with this we will conclude today's session, especially because many of you have another lecture coming up. So with this we complete kinematics. Actually, next lecture now we will start with circular motion. Okay. Typically we are having some doubt sessions in the week also, so you can complete the doubts from HC Verma or the module or whatever during these doubt sessions, and in the next lecture we will actually start with circular motion, which is the next chapter. So that's it for today's session, people. Wish you all the best. Have a nice day.
Thank you, sir.
Bye,
Bye,
sir.
sir.
Bye, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.
Bye, people.
Thank you,
Thank you,
sir.
sir. Bye,
Bye,
sir.
sir.
Thank you, sir. Bye, sir.